of an entrepreneur.
We've raised the bar.
Learn firsthand from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with team lead of the Enriquez Group, Realtor Vinny.
Hi, you Road Growth listeners. Today I have Frederick Cary. He is an entrepreneur, strategic consultant, attorney, investment banker. I mean, his company that he currently focuses on, or mostly focuses on, helps basically businesses grow, expand, get something bigger. I mean, how would you best describe it, Frederick?
You know, I missed the very first part of what you said for some reason. However, if you're describing growth and starting an organization and the hassles you go through, I would describe it as hell that normal people don't want to get into and shouldn't be getting into. But I'm hoping that we have an audience full of crazies here that really want to change the world, or at least change their world. And so that's the journey that you're going to go on for the rest of your life, if that's what you want to be doing.
How many opportunities come across your desk on a yearly basis?
We've had, for the last 2 years, we've had 100,000 applications where people have actually gone through the trouble of, name, address, phone number, and email address, and their idea pitching to us, and basically what it is that they want us to help them with. We've taken about 400 of 100,000. So it's a lot of digging through the rough.
So 400 out of 100,000, those ones that didn't make the cut, I mean, is it mostly just not there yet? The idea is not good, or where do most of those kind of stack up?
I think the problem with most wannabe entrepreneurs is they think that a good idea is going to guarantee them immediate funding. I want $1 million for my idea. I have a product I can patent and I need $10 million for it. There's no real understanding of the fact that in order to be able to get additional capital, you have to put that first capital in. You have to be prepared to really jump off the side of that cliff to try something completely different than what you did before. So a lot of people that come to us just are not prepared to really be an entrepreneur. And I've started 10 different companies on my own. Every single one of them, I had to get a second mortgage on my home. I sold a sailboat once when I was 26. I'd saved 3 years for the thing, and I sold it after 3 weeks because I had this great idea and I needed to fund it. And you always got to go into pocket and go to mom, dad, brother, sister, your kids, your uncles and aunts, anybody that will talk to you on the street and raise the money you need. And a lot of people aren't in that position. They haven't thought through what it really takes to be an entrepreneur.
Well, I guess the next question would be then, with 10 businesses that you started, how many of them were good?
Well, that's a great question. And the reason I started Idea Pros is because I had pretty much of an insane track record. The 10, two of them I took public. 2 others were acquired by public companies. I have one private one now that is doing about $800 million a year. And I have Idea Pros, which we're getting ready to go public. So between those, there's a couple of losers, but even the losers, one, I had a company called Azure that I just couldn't get the financing for, and I had to shut it down. And it was back then, and it still is a brilliant idea. Basically, the technology allowed somebody to go to all their different favorite web pages, take the most important part of those web pages, and create an individual web page that had like 15 different feeds going to it. So you had your own personal web with the New York Times and sports scores and fashion and recipes, whatever it is that you were interested in. We couldn't get it funding, but now anytime you cut and paste anything on your computer, that's our underlying technology that Microsoft bought.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that seems like a really good track record. I think most venture capitalists, right? It's like 2 home runs, 6 losers, and the rest maybe break even or something like that.
I think it's way worse than that even.
Oh,
I think, out of 20 deals, they might, out of 20 deals, they get one that turns out to be really good, and a couple of break evens or wimp along, and the rest are pretty much losers.
Well, let's rewind, Frederick, to a young Frederick. I mean, was he always into building businesses? Who was young Frederick growing up?
I'm only 23. I just look really bad for all the companies I
Wow,
started. I haven't aged well at all. No, young Frederick decided to become an entrepreneur after I'm talking in the third person. After I was 20 years old, I worked for another company, and I came up with these what I thought were really good ideas. One after another, the manager shut me down on those ideas, and within 2 or 3 months afterwards, implemented them as his own. And
Mm.
after the third one, I thought, yeah, this sucks. I'm not going to do this shit anymore. And I started my first company and never looked back.
Okay. Well, the question then, do you think that if that manager would actually treated you right and gave you the praise, everything like that, do you think you would have still been working there, or you think there would be an itch inside you to start your own business?
Yeah, not a chance. I wouldn't have been, it was just a catalyst to get me moving along. I've always been this thinker. And when you wake up in the middle of the night and you have these great ideas, you think they're great ideas, and you go to bed and you wake up the next night with the same idea, then that is something calling to you that's not being an employee.
So at that point in time when you were, I guess, in your early 20s and you made the transition to start your first business, what did that look like? Did you have money put away, or did you just jump into the new business?
I got really fortunate. There was another guy in his 40s uh, who I convinced to partner with me. And it was really a pretty simple business. I had a girlfriend in California, and I was living in South Florida at the time. And I'd come back and forth all the time because she was really hot. And and every time I'd come here to California, where I live now, and right down the street from you, every time I'd come here, there'd be tacos and burritos and all that amazing stuff that we're famous for down here in San Diego, that on the East Coast it didn't exist. And so I convinced this guy. We started a company that was basically, we started it on the premise that if we grew enough of them, sooner or later, Taco Bell would come across the country and try to acquire us. And in 3 years, we built about 70 stores. And 3 years and a day, they knocked, and that was history.
So you built restaurants, or were
Yeah,
they like, okay?
yeah.
No, okay. I got to ask you, did the 40-year-old that your partner at that time, did he have a background in restaurants? Because most people listening, restaurants have a high failure rate. So where was that knowledge coming from?
Uh, Seat of our pants.
Wow.
We did have a model because we wanted to be as close to Taco Bell as possible, because we wanted them to come and see. Wow, we want to go to the East Coast. Look, there's an opportunity. There's
Mm.
restaurants that look very similar to ours, and all we got to do is change the signs. So we kind of copied as much as we could.
And now 3 years again is seems like a fairly fast time from nothing to 70 stores. Where did you gain the knowledge? I know you said seat of the pants. Was there some sort of guidelines? Was there some kind of mentor that you had? What did that process look like?
Well, the 40-year-old was a lot more experienced in business
Okay.
than I was, but that's the one thing that I really had been lacking throughout my career, that I really encourage everybody to have, and that is a mentor. Somebody who's been there, who's done that before, because they can give you really good advice that you think but you don't. And always try to seek one. The good thing about the internet now that we didn't have before is you can even find virtual mentors. Even on my Instagram page, I have about 500,000 people on there, and every day I'm talking about entrepreneurship. I'm talking about kind of doing the right thing, personal development. All these things that are really important, and people can get guidance from people like me as well if they can't find a personal one that they can go buy a beer for.
What do you think would be a good question to ask someone, like, because there is so many individuals out there that put themselves out there of saying, "Hey, I'm a coach, I'm a guru, whatever it might be." What are questions or thoughts someone should really think about when they're trying to find the right person for them?
Yeah, if you're understand this, a coach and a mentor are two different things,
Mm.
right? Somebody who's a coach, think about coaches for the NFL. They're not as good as their players, right? You don't want a coach, because everybody's going to tell you how to make $1 million fast, how to build a perfect website, how to go on Amazon and make a fortune selling other people's shit. And those are coaching programs that are really people that have never done it themselves. What I think is a lot better is find a true mentor who's in your space and try to reach out. And it may be somebody local for go back to real estate. If you're in real estate, somebody who's been there and done that and had a 30-year career in it, or whatever field that you're in. Maybe you can even go to different conferences and conventions and meet people in those places. If you find somebody that's really dialed in, that's been there and done that, you don't want to really impose on them, but you flatter them a little bit. Say, hey, I'm starting out in this field. I really admire you. I don't want to take up any of your time, but I would love an opportunity that if I have the really hard questions, the things I want to know about, if you could give me a few minutes of your time to kind of help me along. You'd be surprised at how many people say yes to that.
Well, let's rewind back to, okay, so you have your first business, you sell it to Taco Bell. You're probably feeling pretty good about yourself. I mean, when did the want to start another business kind of come about?
Right away. When I was in high school, I was a musician. We had a shitty band that to this day are my only friends left from high school, and so I got a real benefit from that. But I was always in the music business. Always wanted to get back involved in the music business, and so I started a company called Concerts America. And in Concerts America, we did all the biggest bands in the time in the 70s. We did bands like the Eagles and Fleetwood Mac and things like that. We promoted live concerts and did that for a few years.
What do you think? I mean, looking back at, there's two businesses, and I know there's many more that you've kind of gone through, but what do you think your value add was in bringing these businesses to the glory that they were?
And I've been all over the place, by the way. In fact, there was one article about me a couple of years ago that said from taco chips to computer chips. And that's what my life has been. When you look at it from the outside, it could be pretty schizophrenic looking. But when you look at what my strategy is, I always want to look for a market, number one, that I'm interested in, because the worst thing you can do is do something that you don't have a passion in. So something I'm interested in that has a pretty robust market already, that's growing pretty quickly and has a big hole in it. And if you can find what that hole is, for example, tacos on the East Coast, you can end up making a lot of money, because you know that there's a demand, there's a market, and now it's even easier with the internet. Where all those 1-star reviews are, that the competitors that are fielding that market now are doing a shitty job on. And so when you figure that out, you can build a business making 5-star reviews out of the 1-star reviews that somebody else has, as long as you can find what that consistent complaint is, build a solution to that complaint, and you got a great company.
Did you have I've talked to a lot of people on here that bring on partners or they build businesses, and one of the kind of common theme is having the right people in the right positions. For yourself, having these 10 different companies and many more that you've been part of, did you have a Rolodex of things? Because like you said, you're jumping all over from tacos to microchips, all over the map. Did you have like a list of people going, oh, okay, this guy would be good, or this woman would be good in this kind of field if I come across an idea like that? Or was it just kind of happened?
I wish I could be the role model for doing things the right way, but the reality is the reason that my company Idea Pros is so powerful, I would say, for entrepreneurs, is because I did so many things the wrong way and learned from those things, taken them out of the equation, and really built a model focusing on the things that I did really well. But a lot of the companies that I started, really, I had to dig around and find. I didn't have the people in place, nor did I have the Rolodex. I had to go out and cold call, find the right people. In some cases, use the help of headhunters and find the people. But one thing is absolutely true. You got to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you in the different areas of what it is you're trying to do, because they're the ones that are going to make it happen for you.
What do you think? You talked about the mistakes you've made. What do you think one of the biggest mistakes you've made?
I think in the beginning, I'll give you an aged version of mistakes. In the beginning, in the 20s, anytime you took a meeting with investors that express any kind of positive inclination towards your idea, you immediately ran out and popped the champagne and thought it was a done deal and stopped your work waiting for that offer that never comes. That was the biggest mistake. Never count something as done until you get the check and it's cleared, and then wait 10 days. And so that was the biggest mistake in the 20s. In my 30s and 40s, I think part of the uh, biggest mistake that I had over and over is thinking I could do things much faster than reality. And so when you think that, you're constantly setting yourself up for disappointment because things are taking longer and longer than they should. And then my third set of mistakes really is in not letting people go fast enough. That I have a very empathetic character. I'm always thinking, you know what, I have this person in the wrong position. Let me find some other place for him or her. And sometimes it really goes to bite you on the ass. So if you're a leader and you have executives working for you, and there's somebody that's kind of doesn't fit that culture, uh, you need to make a move sooner rather than later, because what happens is that person inspires their entire crew in a negative way, and then that goes out into the coffee room and the lunch room and the weekend events, and pretty soon you got a company where 20% of the people are not happy because of one person that you left in there too long.
Hmm. I mean, if being that you work with so many companies now and help them kind of grow, I mean, what have you picked up and learned from helping other people from the kind of the outside looking in compared to what you learned from the inside of building the business? Has there been nuggets that you've taken away?
Yeah. Uh, People think that they can do things really quickly, and they don't understand. Generally, entrepreneurs, first time entrepreneurs, don't understand that you're going to fail, and you're going to fail multiple times. That's the only way you can succeed. That you're creating something that doesn't exist, and when you create something that doesn't exist, you're going to make mistakes. And what I'm finding is that there are two categories of people. There are the one category that says, "Well, that was a good mistake. We learned not to do that. Let's go. Let's do it this other way." And there's other characters that basically will either blame you as the senior partner with them, or think that it's time to just close shop because we ran into a wall. And so the biggest thing I think an entrepreneur can take away from this show, or they should have an understanding of regardless of this show, is that this is really, really hard. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. You just have to be prepared to pivot, and don't be married to that thing you first thought of. Know that this is an evolution, and what you come out with live may be completely different, and a really horrible journey to get to that beautiful promised land. You'll have something that is well beyond your imagination, but you got to go through the rapids to get there.
Is there a like a process or an avenue? Because I mean, like you said, right? Most people are emotionally attached to their idea, right? And sometimes it's hard for them to kind of take a step back and actually see if they have to pivot and change. What's the process you've kind of guided people, or is there a process to better assess their company?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing is reach into your wallet and figure out whether or not you're going to pay for your idea. Are you going to go buy what your idea is, or are you going to have a bunch of them for free? Because you've already sold yourself. You're the only person that you should not be thinking about. You should be thinking about everybody else that's going to open up their wallet. And you need to be designing something for them, not for you. So don't go ask your mom whether this is a great idea. You basically go to the marketplace, do competitive analysis, do major research, find out who those competitors are, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, what your market opportunity is, who those customers are going to be, and how you're going to attract them. You got to do all that stuff. And if you don't do all that stuff, you're just not going to make it.
When you started you started your company, and you're putting your word out there, where you're getting like you said, over the last 2 years, 100,000 individuals that had an idea, they were looking to kind of take it to the next step. I mean, how did you start getting the word out there to be this avenue where people could grow their business?
Well, obviously, we do Google Ads. We have a big social presence between Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, probably close to 1 million followers there. A lot of news stories about me all the time. I do public speaking. I'm on your podcast. And so the word gets around. And we do have a lot of people that have actually referred us to other friends of theirs that are entrepreneurs as well.
Where do you plan to take that business, take that platform that you've built in the next 5-10 years?
So Idea Pros, we did it kind of the opposite that most businesses do. You know, most businesses will go out and sell $500 things and $1,000 things, $5,000 things, then go out and try to get a lot of capital, arguing that, hey, we've proven this, now we can go sell $100,000 and above. And for us, we did it in opposite fashion. The only thing that we have offered until now is this full partnership, minimum contribution, $100,000, start a business together. We'll take 30% of it, and we'll do about $500,000 worth of work. But it's a big nut for somebody who's just coming out. And so what we've started down the road of is really empowering every entrepreneur, the ones that don't have any money, the ones that have a little bit of money, the ones that think they have a great idea, to kind of help them not spend $500,000 unwisely. So we're putting together, we have video courses, we have validation packages to really test out your idea. We're going to be starting in the next few months a membership, private membership, where you can have some of the best folks that you have a private audience with. I have people associated with me now, like Robert Richmond, who wrote the book, The Culture Blueprint, that's mandatory reading in Harvard Law now. He's joining it as an executive. He'll be part of that membership program. We have Oren Klaff, who wrote Pitch Anything. It's the Bible for folks in the venture capital world. You know, we have Dave Matter joined our board, who is he was the chief investment officer for BlackRock, which is a $35 trillion private equity firm, the largest in the world. They've all come aboard, and our entrepreneurs will have associations with the best of the best on a monthly basis to be able to learn, have that mentorship for a nominal monthly fee. And so literally everybody from free to full bore $200,000 partnership, we're going to have solutions for. So that's where we're going.
Are most of your companies that you're helping grow, are they mostly in the U.S.?
Yeah, and they're just launching now, a lot of them, but most of them are in the U.S., although we have several in Canada, we have a few in Australia, one in France, but right now it's mostly in the U.S. Surprisingly, some pretty influential folks in the Middle East are asking us to go and build an offshoot of Idea Pros there, because, you know, as they look towards the future and where oil is going to be in 10 years, I think they're really going to try to become a kind of an entrepreneurial center of the world. I think that's the next step there with all the capital that they have to deploy.
How do you see business changing, or do you see business changing from one country to the next country?
Everywhere you go, there are norms that are in many cases completely different, and some countries don't really encourage entrepreneurship at all. Some have such heavy duty employee rights that make it, like France is a really hard country to start a business in. You have a 35-hour work week, you have massive vacation time, things that are amazing that I would love to be able to have, but as a startup, the odds are kind of against you, and not really good access to capital. So I still think that the U.S. is going to be the hub of innovation going forward. I think that's a place to focus most of your dollars if you're building up a company. And then as you grow to the point where you need to consider other companies and other modes and other commonalities they have in those areas, you will then have the capital to go ahead and deploy a workforce that comes from there, an executive team that comes from there as you grow that organization. like Imagine Communications, that one of the companies that I founded. They have employees in literally every continent except for Antarctica. And so there are way different rules and regulations everywhere you practice. Really complicated. You don't need to go that far.
Well, if someone's listening right now and they're kind of getting excited because they've had an idea for a little bit of time and they're looking to see if it, might be a platform that they could kind of grow. What's the best way of them getting more information about you guys?
Well, there's a couple of ways. You can go to official Fred Cary on Instagram, Cary, and I have a link tree there that has a free webinar. It has I think it's like a $147 course on purpose-driven entrepreneurship, and also has a bundle package that you can take that idea. That's around $1,000, I think. But you can take that idea and we completely flesh it out. You'll get back a 40-page report that you can go out and raise money with. That really says, hey, here's your idea. Here's what it really is. Here's your market. Here's your opportunity. Here's your target audience. These are the competitors. This is what you've got to watch out for. This is how you can go to market and avoid their strengths. And here's a pitch deck that you can take to go to your friends and family and now be an expert, instead of going to your mom or dad and saying, hey, I got this great idea. I want to build this app. And they start asking you the hard questions like, what's the market size? How are you going to get customers? Who are the competitors? What are their strengths? And you don't know any of those answers. Now you can go in there really, really knowledgeable. And worst case is also kind of a best case. The worst case is we come back and tell you, well, here it is. We don't recommend you do it because you're going to get slaughtered. They're heavy, heavy competition, low margins. They really got the market nailed, and you're probably going to have a very hard time. So for that $1,000, you probably save $500,000 in 5 years of heartache.
Okay, so for that $1,000 right there, in that when someone's bringing you an idea, and then you're going to put all that package together, or tell them it's probably a dud. How many are, hey, here's the package, and how many of them are, this is probably going to be a dud, percentage wise, ballpark?
The duds are pretty low,
Oh, wow.
and they're pretty low because we kind of screen them a little bit first. If somebody wants to spend $100 to build this rocket ship that'll go to Pluto, we can tell them right off the bat that, yeah, probably that's not going to work out well for you. But the ones that have a pretty good idea, we'll bring them through. And I would say close to 90% of them, we give them a good way to really go out to market. Some of the times though, it's like, hey, you can't do that, but you can do this, which is going to kind of get you in the same place, So it's a whole lot of stuff for $1,000. I'm not making any money on it. It's just the research report writing of it is a few $100s minimum, and then adding an executive on top of it to look at it and analyze it. You can't, like with if you break your leg, if the doctor just handed you the x-ray and didn't interpret it, you wouldn't know what the hell to do. And so same thing with the research report. You have to have an expert look at it, give you advice, help position you, and send you off to go raise that capital you need to go to the next step. What's interesting is that several people who did this first $1,000 part of it came back to try to be partners after that. They saw it, they got it, they got their pitch decks, they went out. In one case, these 3 guys raised $125,000 in 5 days. They pitched it to 21 people and 19 said yes. It's insane. And so it will really arm you so you don't have to guess. You can go to the professionals for a modest amount of money, find out whether your business idea is really, really solid and what you're going to need to do to launch it.
My guess, and this is the last question. My guess is that you're probably not the one that's looking at every single plan, and so you put people in there to look at these plans. How do you find the right people to put them to look at these different plans? Because I guess too that some of them wouldn't correlate to that executive. They'd be different kind of different backgrounds. So how do you find the right people for it?
Yeah, I have a team, a really expert team, people I don't deserve at this stage of the organization, people that have been there, done that, grown major companies. Even on the things like on the engineering side, Wes Cross, who heads up my engineering, if you watch any of the Batman movies or Fast and Furious, or got hit on the wrong side of a missile defense system, he designed all those things. And here he is giving you advice on little projects that are nowhere near as complex as something like that. And we have that same thing going on with all of our executives. Very, very high quality. Craig Olson works with the company. He was the president of SteelSeries, which was a third party vendor for Apple, became their largest vendor across the world, and they just sold that company for $1.4 billion. And here he is working as part of the team. So people who've taken raw ideas and created billion-dollar companies in some cases out of them are the ones that are going to be advising you.
Thank you, Frederick, for being on the Road to Growth podcast. Any last words of wisdom that you want to put out there?
Yeah. Number one, hang in there. The average entrepreneur goes through 2.5 businesses before they get it right. So even if the business that you try to start right now doesn't work out for you, go to the next one. The entrepreneurial spirit is something that's never going to go away. You're going to try to give up, get your 9-to-5 job, and within 6 months want to quit and do something else. So don't go through that hassle unless you need to pay rent. Just stick with it. The right idea is going to come at the right time, and that right idea may not be the right idea when you first think of it. So I did a show about 1.5 years ago, and the title of the show is "What Do Millionaires and Bad Ideas Have in Common?" And that is that those are the people that take those bad ideas and start chewing away at them and forming them and manipulating them and turning them into something beautiful, and then going out and having a really successful business. So hang in there. Expect the fires are going to happen. Embrace the flames, and you'll get through it all.
Again, thank you, Frederick, for being on the Road to Growth podcast. I mean, for everyone listening right there, I mean, simply the idea, even if you just go to the Instagram, Frederick's Instagram right there, pay $1,000 if you have an idea, a business plan that you're looking to put out there. I mean, it sounds like a steal. I haven't used it, but I've had a lot of people on this platform, and for $1,000 to know if your plan is good and give you the paperwork, the information needed to get out there to get investment, it seems like a slam dunk. So if you have an idea, you have a business, you're kind of starting, go in the show notes, go find Frederick. Thank you guys for listening. Please subscribe, please share, and go find Frederick. Bye, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks.